How's it going, everybody? ChaoticMeatball here, and welcome back to yet another Professor Oak's challenge. So yeah, we're taking on one of the most difficult Professor Oak's challenges when talking about mainline titles, and that's Pokemon Black 2 and White 2. I'll be using White 2 as a basis for this video. In fact, all of the footage of this challenge was captured while streaming over on Twitch.tv. That's right, I did this entire challenge over on Twitch. So, it did take me weeks. I mean weeks. Technically months, because there was a 4-month hiatus. But either way, it still definitely paid off in the end, since this one was really fun. Anyway, let me give you a quick refresher on the rules of the Professor Oak's challenge. Rule number 1, you must catch and evolve every available Pokemon there is before every gym badge. Rule number 2, no glitches, and rule number 3, no trading with other games. Easy, right? Well, let's find out as I complete the Professor Oak's challenge for Pokemon Black 2 and White 2. But before we get started, I'd highly implore you to subscribe to the channel, since I'm on the drive for 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2021. And yeah, that may seem like a far out goal since we've got literally 11 months to do so, but this kind of thing comes up pretty quickly, so I'd rather see if we can hit the goal early rather than be rushing at the end of the year to make up for it. Lastly, make sure to like this video, comment your favorite area, Pokemon, or heck, experience with Black 2 and White 2, and follow me on Twitch and Twitter, links in the description. Let's get right on into the business. So, I'm sure you guys know how the EXP curve works here in Generation 5, especially if you've already watched both mine and John's videos on the Black and White Professor Oak challenge. But this game takes it to a whole new level. Black and White originally only had you get Unovan Pokemon into the post-game, but Black 2 and White 2 open up the floodgates and give you access to over 300 Pokemon in its regional decks, so we're going to be getting a lot of Pokemon, even in just the first section. We also don't have access to Shaking Grass until pre-badge 2, so we're not going to have any Audino to get any experience off of, so yeah, we're going to be in a very big long haul. So we start out in Aspertius City, going up with Hugh to get our starter. Since I chose Oshawott in my Black and White POC, I decided to pick my favorite starter out of the group of 3 this time, that being Snivy. They all evolve at the same level anyway, so there's not really a difference. Plus I wanted an excuse to use my favorite starter in this game again. After getting my Pokedex and fighting my rival, I'm able to proceed to Route 19, though there isn't anything here I can't get at a higher level on future routes, so I ignore it and head over to Flossacy Town, being interrupted by Alder before getting into the town proper. He tells me to go to Flossacy Ranch to help a young couple recover their herdier, wiping the floor again against Hugh for the last time for about 45 hours. Yeah, this section's long. However, this is the first area where I'll be catching some Pokemon, the first of which is Lillipup. My first one had the ability Vital Spirit, working the same way it did in the first Black and White, so I can draw out high-level Pokemon to both catch and train against. With this, I'm able to eventually get 4 other Lillipup with the ability Pickup, which we'll need not only for rare candies, but evolutionary stones as well. The other encounters in the ranch include Psyduck, Azurill, Patrat, Mareep, and Riolu, leaving just the encounters on Route 20 before grinding. They're a bit lower level than Flossacy Ranch, but here I'm able to capture Sewaddle, Pidove, Purloin, and Sunkern, leaving just the grind. I took out the remainder of the trainers and rescued the couple's herdier, as well as taking out these 2 kids that Alder told me to beat. That sounds like child abuse, but okay, Alder. In return, this guy comes up to me and gives me the metal case. We're not going to be worrying about this for now, but rest assured, we're going to be filling that up on this file in a different video at some point in the future. With that being said, I now have access to the gym, where I took out the trainers there as well. So I'm sure you guys remember my gym whiteout method that I used back in both the red and blue, as well as my original Black and White POC, and it's apparent that I'll need to use that here as well. I need to get my 4 Pickup Lillipups to level 21. One of them also has to get to level 31 so that I can use Pickup to get a Sunstone for Sunkern. So I trained the 4 of them using the gym whiteout method, getting much more EXP from Charon's Patrat than I would fighting anything in the Flossacy Ranch. Honestly, I was thinking of doing this run on challenge mode over on Black 2, but I wanted to do this run vanilla, so I just went for White 2. Otherwise, Charon would have 3 Pokemon, all of which are at a higher level than they are on normal, making the grinding a heck of a lot faster than it normally is. Sadly though, I can only KO his Patrat, but it's level 11 rather than the max level 7 of the ranch. I got all 4 of them up to level 14 in the ranch, plenty high enough to take care of themselves while getting repeatedly obliterated. And since chat was getting bored, I had them vote on whether or not they wanted to see me use speed up so that it would be more entertaining, with 75% of them saying yes, so I just went for it. Normally I don't do this since it messes with the in-game time, but I'm sure I can overcome this new hurdle without wasting a boatload of in-game time. But we'll see. I'm only about 8 in-game hours in when I finish my pickup squad, having gotten all 4 of them to level 21. I opted to leave all at level 21 instead of wait for 10 pickup rare candies to use on one of the Lillipups, so that I could go ahead and grind the lower levels of everything else. As well as taking care of friendship evolutions, since there's an astonishingly high number of them, that being 3. Azurill, Riolu, and Swadloon. I started off with Azurill, getting it to the cusp of level 17, so that I wouldn't have to level it up more than I have to, since it evolves fully at level 18. The female breeder on the ranch also heals my Pokemon for free, so there's no need to continue to return to the Pokemon Center until it was at the cusp of level 17. After that, I swapped Riolu for Sewaddle to start leveling it and getting its friendship up, as I figured I could probably finish off Azurill's friendship with the steps I was going to take to level Sewaddle. Mine was actually really easy to train. I don't know why, but I guess it had an attack boosting nature, I didn't bother to check, but Bug Bite, Razor Leaf, and Tackle did the job well enough. I didn't even evolve it before saving and checking Azurill with a rare candy, and sure enough it was ready to evolve. So I reset, battled once, evolving Azurill into Marill at level 17, and into Azumarill one level later. I opted to evolve Sewaddle before heading back to the Pokemon Center, evolving it into Swadloon at level 20. With this, I'm able to put Azumarill into the box and swap for Patrat. I figured I'd take on the lower level evolutions to bait more rare candies and pickup activations, but since I didn't fully evolve them, since I wanted to swap out so that I could do their higher levels with the gym whiteout method, swapping Patrat for Snivy after getting it to level 15, and doing the same for Snivy as I swapped for Purloin. At this point though, I finally got the 10 rare candies for Lillipup, so I just kept going until Purloin reached level 20, finally evolving into Liepard. I neglected to mention this until now, but in this grass there are wild Mareep, and because of that, static is basically everywhere. Fortunately though, Purloin has the Limber ability, making training it a lot less of a pain than anyone else so far. Straight after Purloin evolved though, I saved and checked Swadloon with a rare candy, and sure enough it evolved. So I reset and fought one more battle with it, evolving it into Leavanny with max happiness at level 21. This opens up a slot for Riolu, the last friendship evolution of the section, but seeing as it's nighttime as I'm in this portion of the game, I'm just gonna keep it in the party for now rather than changing the time of day. I swapped Liepard for Patrat as well, since I figured if I trained it, why not get the other thing to level 20? At this point, I'm just trying to get my Lillipup to give me a single Sunstone for Sunkern as well, so that I can just put them all away and use the gym whiteout method. But that just wasn't happening. Seriously, I managed to get 2 frickin' shiny Lillipups within a half hour before getting a single dang Sunstone. It was ridiculous. Like, I didn't even react for the first one, but the second one was like, what the... Literally, how? It was a great night. I mean, yeah, having both evolved Patrat into Watchog at level 20, Mareep into Flaffy at level 15, and Snivy into Cervine at level 17. That wasn't both, that was 3, but you know, I can't count. Continuing on with the stream afterwards. The rest of the section was literally just all grinding though, and by grinding, I mean f***ing grinding. At this point, I was sitting with a save file of 20 hours and 40 minutes of playtime, and it took nearly 20 more hours. 20 more hours just to finish the evolutions of everything that I had managed to catch for the section. Those being Riolu into Lucario at level 8 thanks to max happiness during the day, and after some more grinding I finally managed to get that darn Sunstone from my level 31 pickup Lillipup, which in turn let me evolve Sunkern into Sunflora. About damn time I got one of those. Seriously, how does one manage to get 2 shinies within half an hour of each other, but can't get a single Sunstone with a much higher chance of appearing? Ugh. I digress. Continuing on, I managed to evolve Lillipup into Herdier at level 32, since I have no need for the pickup Lillipup anymore, I figured why not. So let's go ahead and pump it into Stoutland as well. After this, I attempted to use the gym whiteout strategy that I've used in other runs, where I'd go ahead and knock out Charon's first Patrat, so that I'd be able to feint to his Lillipup once it came out. I honestly felt that this was going to be a lot more useful than it was, since with Generation 5, the EXP curve is changed from this formula, that being EXP equals A times T times B times E times capital L times P times F times V, divided by 7 times S. All of these variables are going to be put on the screen for you guys so that you can kind of follow along. However, this formula was changed to this thing. I'm not even going to attempt to read this out loud because it's been a little while since I've been in algebra class. I could probably solve it, but that would probably take me about 5 minutes. Quite frankly, it just becomes a lot worse to calculate EXP, and even worse when you want to overlevel like I want to do in this challenge. Essentially, the higher level you go, the less EXP you will gain per battle, to the point where you'll only be gaining single digits from Pokemon. This is mitigated by the variable A, which becomes 1.5 if the fainted Pokemon is owned by a trainer, in this case the gym leader, and since it's level 11 as opposed to the highest level of 7 over in the Flossie Ranch, we can see that it gives us much more EXP. However, the trade-off is that pickup cannot activate after whiting out, especially since we'd have to let those Pokemon get KO'd, wasting even more time, along with the fact that we'd have to run into Charon and challenge him over and over and over and over again, and the distance between the Pokemon Center and Charon in his gym, which is all the way into the back of the gym, is quite a bit of distance, and if we save in front of him to prevent ourselves from taking the badge by accident, we lose even more time. So unfortunately, after all of this planning, I literally just went back to Wild Encounters. Rare candies are in fact our best friend, since we have a ton more high-level evolution Pokemon as opposed to the Black and White 1 run. All that jargon aside though, this means I just went back into the grass, finishing off the evolutions with, oh right, there's yet another shiny. How in the cow's bow wow did we manage 3 shinies in the same section, let alone the same stream? This literally happened in the same stream. I'm not even lying. Well, I'll tell you how, just the trademark chaotic meatball luck. I'm telling you, I get the nuttiest luck ever in Pokemon games, but outside of it, oh yeah, I could get my car totaled and channel hacked by malicious Bitcoin scammers in the same week. But I digress yet again. I got Psyduck to level 26, then used 7 of my currently 16 rare candies to evolve it into Golduck at level 33, moving on to Cervine, getting it to level 25 before using 11 more rare candies on it, evolving it into Superior and changing it out for Flaffy. My strategy at this moment was that I wanted to get both Flaffy and Pidove to level 25, then use rare candies to finish them off, but if I didn't have enough, I'd get the Pokemon in the fastest EXP group to level up to make up for the distance. Sadly, they're both part of medium slow, so it doesn't even really matter. Either one would have been easy to level up, but with this in mind, I got Flaffy up to level 25, using 5 rare candies to evolve it into Ampharos at level 30, swapping it for Pidove. It's not too bad of a Pokemon to evolve either, since it gets plenty of normal and flying type attacking moves, essentially only having to deal with Wild Mareep being a Pokemon with the static ability, but we do get special flying moves, so it's not even that big of a deal, allowing Pidove to evolve into Tranquil at level 21, and with a bit more of a push, I got it to level 25, allowing me to use 7 more candies to get it to level 32, evolving into Unfezant and finishing off the section, finally, with a total of 28 Pokemon and a time of 39 hours and 11 minutes. I'm quite surprised I made it under 40 hours, but still, that just shows you how long the section is, being barely under 40 hours but with only 28 Pokemon. Trust me, there's a lot more hell to pay in the next few sections, mark my words. So, after beating Charon so hard he reverted back to the character he was in the last game, and getting the Sea Gear of course, something that actually has a use in this challenge funnily enough, I'm finally finished with the most tedious portion of the game, thankfully, now that I have access to Rustling Grass, and therefore Audino. There's also another Pokemon in the Rustling Grass on Route 20, but it's a decently rare encounter, so I figured I'd grab Venipede from the first instance of Dark Grass here, so that I'd be able to train it on Audino while looking for the other Pokemon. This ended up working out pretty well, as Venipede managed to get in a few levels before capturing Dunsparce. With those 3 in tow though, I made my way into Verbank City, which doesn't have much to offer. Rather, the complex just south does, where I'm able to capture Magnemite, Elekid, or Magby if you're playing Black 2, Koffing, and Growlithe. Fortunately, there's no trading in this challenge, nor is the Electrizer or Magmarizer available, so we won't be worrying about those, or Magnezone and Arcanine for that matter, due to them being unobtainable in this section. Shockingly, that's all there is for encounters in this section. Not very many new areas this go around, but of course, that's because we'll be taking a ship to the mainland after defeating Roxy, so that kinda makes sense. Before beginning the trek of Rustling Grass grinding, I figured I'd take out the extra trainers standing around both the complex as well as the gym, getting Venipede decently close to evolving, so I only had to use a few Autonos to push it up to level 22, evolving it into Whirlipede. I made level 30 the rare candy barrier for myself in this section, as the only Pokemon that evolves higher than that is Coughing at level 35, meaning I really only needed 5 rare candies to make this section go by relatively quickly. I still had one coming into this section, and keeping my other pickup Lillipups while grinding up Whirlipede, Magnemite, and Elekid was a great decision. Whirlipede was pretty easy to grind, getting off poison more times than not, and making KOing Autonos relatively quickly if I did miss the one-shot, eventually evolving into Scolipede at level 30. Next up is Elekid, and fortunately while also having Thunder Shock, it gets Rock Smash and Low Kick, meaning I have 2 super effective moves to efficiently rid the entire route of Autonos, eventually getting more and more powerful moves and evolving into Electabuzz at level 30. Next up was Magnemite, which wasn't very difficult, as the Steel typing really helps in living in a ton of situations. Whatever the heck they threw at me, basically I was surviving, but not being able to really dish back much, with moves like Tackle and Thunder Shock being my only ways to attack up until level 14, where I learned Sonic Boom, an efficient way of 3-shotting Autonos. Yeah, efficient and 3-shot don't sound like they go together, and they don't, but at least I wasn't taking 5 or 6 Thunder Shocks for each Autono like the earlier levels. Eventually getting Spark at level 22 and Electro Ball at level 27 really helped out with the process, getting Magnemite to level 30 and evolving into Magneton. Also, side note, if you'd like to have one of the Pokemon in these challenges named after you, be sure to stop into my Twitch chat, as I have a little point redemption thing for whenever you stick around long enough in the stream. You can redeem for a nickname, which is a nice little perk for those who support the stream, link in the description. Last up is Coughing, and while only having Tackle and Smog is really a recipe for disaster, Poison Gas did help a bit, eventually getting some decent moves like Assurance at level 15 and Clear Smog at level 19. You'd think I'd have Sludge by that point, but no. Coughing doesn't get Sludge until level 28, only a single level before I used my 6 available rare candies to finish it off, evolving into Wheezing at level 35 and finishing the section with a total of 40 Pokemon in a time of 43 hours and 34 minutes. See? Autogun is a miracle, and so is Wheezing while wiping through Roxy's team, allowing me to move on to the next section. Is what I would say if the game didn't force me into this Pokestar Studios garbage. Seriously, who the heck decided that it was mandatory to do one of these? They should have done it like the Pokeathlon or Pokemon contests, where they give you something to point out the fact that it exists, but me having to physically go in there and do one really messes with the pacing of the game for me, especially when it's a playstyle I don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole. Irritation aside, I arrived in Castelia City for the first time this run, heading off into the sewers to finish some Team Plasma Grunt story garbage up with Hugh, while also capturing Grimer, Zubat, and Rattata. Team Plasma really isn't that high on my priority list though, so it's time to go do some miscellaneous things. Most notably is getting the EXP share from the Battle Company here in Castelia City. Nothing too much was gained though, even though I fought the trainers, I couldn't quite get Rattata to evolve yet, so I just moved up to Route 4 to do some more encounters, those being Darumaka, Sandile, evolving Rattata and Eradicate at level 20 while searching, Minccino, or Trubbish in Black 2, and... oh, I forgot to grab Scraggy. I guess I'll get that later. In the meantime, I went back down into the sewers to finish off Team Plasma, and gaining access to a little part of the Relic Passage. Of course, giving me more encounters to obtain, such as Woobat, Roggenrola, Onyx from the Dust Clouds, Timber, and... oh come on you idiot, why do you keep just leaving one Pokemon before leaving the area, you imbecile? No Metal Coat for trading, so no Steelix for now. It is indeed capturable later. Well, at the very least, I'm not a complete idiot, since I went back down to capture Drillbur, but also so I can access the Castelia Park, the last area that I need to get encounters from for this section, with the exception of Scraggy, of course. I took a break from capturing regular Mons, instead going for Rustling Grass encounters while training my Sandile on any Autono that appeared, obtaining Delcatty after about 5 levels. This saves me from having to obtain a Moonstone from a pickup Mon, which would have had to have been level 41, so it was definitely the right choice, leaving Lilligant to be the last Rustling encounter, therefore also saving me a Sunstone. If you're playing Black 2, you'll end up finding Whimsicott and Lopunny instead, but that's not too big of a deal, since after capturing the pre-evolved form of your certain grass type, you'll be able to trade it for the other next section. Last up are the regular grass encounters here, those being 2 Petalil, Skitty, a whopping 7 Eevee, I can't access any of the rocks for the Gen 4 evolutions, nor can I get the evolution stones for the Gen 1 evolutions, but I can get the 2 from Generation 2, so 2 out of 7 is okay with me. But I didn't feel like coming back, and breeding isn't available until the post-game, so it kind of makes sense just to grab these right here and now. This is about when I realized that I had neglected to capture Scraggy, so I went back up to Route 4 to grab it while slowly working on Sandile and Zubat's evolutions. With that in tow though, that's all of the encounters for this section, and sure enough, I went back up to the Castalia Park in order to grind on those sweet level 15 through 18 Audinoes. Most of the evolutions for this section are actually really easy, as everything that I've captured that has to evolve is either able to go in a single level thanks to happiness, or is a ground, rock, or fighting type Pokemon, giving me everything I really would want against something like an Audino. Not to mention, with the EXP share in hand, those friendship evolutions don't even have to come into battle and risk getting KO'd and lowering the friendship that I was working hard to achieve. And by working hard, I mean moving the D-pad. Apparently that's hard. Anyway, thanks to that being the case, I was able to evolve Zubat into Golbat at level 22, Sandile into Krokorok at level 29, and into Krookodile at level 40, Woobat into Swoobat at level 22 thanks to Max Happiness, Golbat into Crobat at level 25 with Max Happiness, Timber into Girder at level 25, Roggenrola into Boldore also at level 25, no Gigalith because no trading, yet. Eevee then evolved into Umbreon at level 32 with Max Happiness, and it took a little longer than I would have liked since the beginning of the grinding session with it was during the day, but I ran out of time to evolve it into Espeon, leaving the other Eevee to wait. And by waiting, I mean changing the clock. Yeah, I didn't feel like waiting. Eevee evolved into Espeon at level 20 with Max Happiness. Continuing on, Grimer evolved into Muck at level 38, Darmaka into Darmanitan at level 35, Drillbur into Excadrill at level 31, and Scraggy into Scrafty at level 39. I actually barely used any rare candies for this section at all, only using one on Scraggy to finish it off, and honestly I probably wasted it, since I could have just saved it for something like Hydreigon later on, but that's not that big of a deal. I finished the section with a total of 71 Pokemon, 72 if you're playing Black 2, and with a time of 53 hours and 21 minutes. I'm surprised, that section only took a hair under 10 hours, despite the fact that there were 2 really high-level evolutions in both Krookodile and Scraggy, so I'm feeling pretty confident about the rest of this run, though we're not even halfway through yet. With the insect badge in tow, I'm finally able to move on through Route 4 rather than being limited like I was in the last section, getting past the Crustle with Colress's machine, and immediately trading my spare Petalil to get a Cottony, using my last Sunstone on it to evolve into Whimsicott. Now that's what I call a fast start, but we've got even more to do right from the get-go, so I went ahead and darted over to the Desert Resort, as there's 5 whole encounters I can get here, those being Maractus, and because there's a Firestone available here, I picked it up, evolving Growlithe into Arcanine before finishing off the encounters, being Dwebble, Sigilif, Sandshrew, and Trapinch. But wait, there's more! In the Relic Castle, there's also Yamask, finishing off the need for this section. Well, almost. There's still a ton of extra trainers I wanted to avoid until I got the encounters and could start leveling them. So much so that I was able to evolve Sandshrew into Sandslash at level 22 with those alone, moving on to join Avenue afterwards. For some reason they wanted me to give them an 8-letter word or less, so I just tell them Bubbles and some of them leave. But of course this blue-haired anime couple doesn't want to leave me alone, asking me what they should address me as, so I tell them that I am their senpai, which is enough to creep them out and get me into Nimbasa City. As soon as I get in, I grab the hidden Thunderstone next to the Pokemon Center, smashing it into one of my Eevee's faces in order to evolve it into Jolteon, adding yet another to the dex total. There's another Sunstone to the north of the Pokemon Center as well, so I grabbed that, helped Rosa defeat the Subway sandwich bosses to open up the restaurant since we'll be eating here soon, and grabbed the dropped cross transceiver near the Ferris wheel. This opens up a side quest that we'll be fulfilling way later in the challenge, so it's important to keep up with the phone calls from it, but also not the biggest deal that you don't really have to worry about it until the post-game of all places. So there's 2 more routes available to me before I have to grind, those being routes 5 and 16. I went to 16 first since they both have the same encounters, but the Lost Lorne Forest in the back of the route does have its own unique encounters. So I figured just getting over there was smartest, capturing Emolga and Cincino from the Rustling Grass, along with Solosis, or Gothita in Black 2, and Trubbish, or Mincino in Black 2, in the regular grass. Well, I actually decided to just go for Route 5 first, as there's a single thing on that route that I do need to get. And unfortunately, it's in by far the worst mechanic that I've ever had to deal with from a Professor Oak's challenge, that being hidden grottos. These are areas that are embedded in trees that can have wild Pokemon, items, and hidden items in the form of mulch, or better yet, nothing at all most of the time. In fact, 95% of the time, as it only refreshes every 256 steps, and you have a really good chance of not getting a single thing. Bianca explains this, of course, only showing a Minccino in this one, but believe me, we're gonna need to get a few Pokemon from a few different grottos this section. But before we look for the encounter in here, Lost Lorne Forest is next on the docket, where I'm able to find Roselia, Pinsir, or Heracross if you're playing Black 2, and Combee from the regular grass, as well as Vespiquen, Roserade, Pansage, Panpour, evolving Yamask into Cofagrigus level 34 while searching, and Pansear from the Rustling Grass. Tons of Rustling Grass encounters here for some reason, and the monkeys are gonna require us to get some more evolutionary stones on top of the other evolutions that we are still missing. Though that's not really my concern. What is my concern is the hidden grotto in the Lost Lorne Forest. See, Heracross may be exclusive in the grass in Black 2, but he's in the grotto with a 0.25% chance of encountering. Yeah, we've gone lower than 1% on encounters. This is also the case with Pinsir in Black 2, as it's in the grotto, so both versions have it pretty bad, but the thing is that Pokemon only appear 20% of the time in the grotto. The other 80% of the time is split up between visible items, which has stuff like the fire, water, thunder, and leaf stones, and invisible items with the other half, usually hidden in the form of mulch, but occasionally providing the useful PowerPoint Upper Max or even a rare candy. Not to mention, every 256 steps you take, there's a 5% chance that each of the hidden grottos will regenerate, meaning we stack a 5% chance on top of a 20% chance on top of a 0.25% chance. This has taken people weeks to find their version's required Pokemon. But you want to know how long it took me to get it? Well, find out after I do some Interlink missions. I was actually doing these to get Pass Orbs in order to activate Pass powers like Hidden Grotto Power, which increases the chance of Hidden Grottos regenerating. There's also an EXP point power that increases EXP gain by 20% for the first level, 50% for the second level, and 100% for the third level for 3 minutes every time you activate it, but I was mostly focused on the grottos. During this time, I have also evolved Pansage into Simisage with a Leaf Stone, Trapinch into Vibrava at level 35, and into Flygon at level 45, and even catching the Braviary on Route 4 since when I was playing during this section, it was Monday. If you're playing Black 2 though, you can get Mandibuzz on Thursday. Unfortunately though, I had spent a good 3 hours on FunFest missions before I was told that I couldn't get the Hidden Grotto power without connecting to another game. But the EXP power was still available, but I didn't really figure that was gonna matter that much since Audino already produces so much EXP anyway. So I just went ahead and did my grotto searching as any normal person would, going back and forth while also looking for Rustling Grass Audino, evolving Solacis into Duosion at level 32, and after about 6 or 7, somewhere around there, solid hours, going back and forth and checking and back and forth and checking and back and forth and checking, I found Heracross. I'm very fortunate that this only took around 7 hours, since it's taken a lot more for other people, but again, my Pokemon luck seems to be very, very good. With literally the hardest thing in the challenge done, there's still a few more evolutions and one more grotto encounter to find on Route 5. During my grotto hunting, I got a Water Stone to evolve Panpour into Simipour, but that's about it for evolution stones. I was searching for Foongus from this grotto, which ended up not happening before I evolved Dwebble into Crustle at level 34, but it didn't take too much longer for me to grab Foongus, finishing the encounters for the section. Nothing else in this section is really annoying to level up. Even Foongus has a decent enough level up moveset to get through Audinos without much difficulty, letting me evolve Duosion into Reuniclus at level 41, Trubbish into Garbodor at level 36, and Foongus into Amoonguss at level 39. This just leaves the stone evolutions, and the fastest way to get those, well, the only way outside of grottos, grinding BP in the battle subway. So I just pulled in my 3 best Pokemon and started grinding away. Since each stone costs 3 BP, I need one for Vaporeon, Flareon, and Pansear, so 9 BP is required. You really don't even get that much BP here, as each battle doesn't even get you a single one. You need a streak of 7 to even get 3 BP. This requires 3 continuous streaks, which, by the way, I never got. And I failed a number of times, but when you fail, you get nothing. Either a 7 win streak, or nothing. It's a very, very huge pain in the neck, but after a couple of attempts, I managed to evolve Panseer into Simisear with a Firestone, Eevee into Flareon with a Firestone, and Eevee into Vaporeon with a Waterstone, giving me a total of 110 Pokemon in a time of 69 hours, nice, and 3 minutes. Half the badges down, half to go. I think we're over the hump of the challenge now, with both the tedium of Free Badge 1 and the stupid Heracross grind done and over with. But we still do have a few more things to handle that are kind of irritating. Pre-Badge 5 doesn't have very much in the capturing territory though, but there are quite a number of level 40 plus evolutions that will have to deal with this section. After handing some Team Plasma Grunts their bums on a plate, I'm able to head to the Driftvale Drawbridge, capturing a Ducklet before heading into Driftvale City, where both the best music and a gift Zorua awaits. This was N's Zorua from the first game, which while yes we can find N's Pokemon in the wild, we don't have to worry about that for anything except for this one in this section specifically. Driftvale doesn't have much to offer aside from that, as the cold storage no longer is an accessible area, instead replaced by the Pokemon World Tournament, which while it's probably the coolest thing in this game, we won't be touching it aside from the one story requirement. Route 6 is accessible though, and shockingly enough, the first part of the Chargestone Cave as well, pun entirely intended. Route 6 gives me Karrablast, Deerling, Shelmet, and in the Rustling Grass I can get Cast Form, fitting reference for the route that happens to have a Weather Institute like Hoenn, and I enjoy these sort of Easter eggs. The trainers on this route are also good material to train up Ducklet, leading into the Chargestone Cave where I can get Ferroseed, Joltik, Nosepass, Clink, and the rare Tynamo. Also to note, if you don't end up finding Deerling before both Shelmet and Karrablast over on Route 6, you can actually get it as a gift Pokemon from the weather area, saving you even more time if you happen to be lucky. Anyway, we'll be coming back here soon to evolve Magneton, but for now, it's grinding time for everything else. I stayed in Chargestone Cave for a little while with Ducklet, as I wanted to find myself a Thunderstone through the dust spots, but I got it really quickly, so I just headed back outside and did the normal Audino grind. It's a bit more of a pain here since Audino's only a 50% encounter, with other things like Unpheasant, Azumarill, Leavannia, and Emolga being among the annoyances, with Dunsparce and Castform probably being the most annoying as they don't provide nearly as much EXP as those other final evolutions that Emolga do. Either way, it didn't take me long to evolve Ducklet into Swanna at level 35, helped out by all of the trainers available in the Driftvale gym. I figured it would be wise to take them down with the only water type I'll be using during the entire section, since we'll have to get through the majority of them to get to Clay anyway. Next up was Clink, and thanks to the resistance to normal types, it was relatively easy to evolve, but having to get it to level 49 to fully evolve was probably the biggest pain in the bum to deal with thus far. So because of that, I kept throwing my lower level evolutions into the party to EXP share them up, evolving Zorua into Zoroark at level 30, then getting both Nosepass and Magneton on the cusp of leveling up, then bringing them into Chargestone Cave to evolve them into Probopass and Magnezone respectively. Clink ended up being the next to evolve, getting to Clang at level 38 while helping raise Joltik, Tynamo, and Ferroseed, eventually getting Galvantula at level 36, Electric at level 39 and into Electros with a Thunderstone, and Ferrothorn at level 40 respectively. Last to train up alongside Clang is Deerling, who quickly evolved into Sawsbuck at level 34, as Clang got to level 45, letting me use my 4 pickup rare candies I still had laying around to finish off the grind at level 49, getting Kling Clang. With that though, the section was pretty short, as I had a total of 132 Pokemon in a time of 74 hours and 43 minutes. Just a bit under 6 hours for a section in a POC that has a few dozen Pokemon is not shabby at all. Next up is Pre-Badge 6, and this section is actually a hair longer than the last one, but it's not too bad because there's not as many high-level evolutions. After beating Clay and finishing up the events in the Pokemon World Tournament, I'm able to take a detour through the Relic Passage into the Relic Castle itself, grabbing a wild Baltoy while also grabbing the static Volcarona. Yeah, luckily we can get Volcarona and we don't have to worry about getting it to level 59 as a Larvesta. Though we still technically have a few level 40 plus evolutions here, it's just not as bad as last section. The Plasma Frigate also has a few battles for me to take down, and while it's not enough to get Baltoy to evolve, it is experience. And free experience while going through story beats is always nice for progression. A short time later though, I'm able to get the HM for Surf from Charon in the Weather Lab on Route 6, so it's backtracking time. Of course, I grabbed the Moonstone here near the Weather Lab, but I also grabbed Basculin before moving back to the Lost Lorne Forest to get Weasel from regular surfing, as well as Route 4 to grab a Lomamola and Jellicent from Rippling Water, as well as Frillish from regular surfing. Seriously, take the time to grab Jellicent. Save yourself the time for a level 40 evolution, because it is worth your effort. Luckily, I don't have to go back any further, so I just made my way back up to Route 6, surfing over to Mistral Cave, and thank you, emulator, I don't want to have to use Flash or a map, so your glitches are indeed very helpful. Here, I'm able to capture both an Axew and an Auron, both of which are going to be decently difficult to evolve. Oh, who am I kidding? Audino makes everything easy, let's not kid ourselves. After a hop and skip through Chargestone Cave, including evolving Baltoy into Claydol at level 36, Weasel into Floatzel at level 26, and Auron into Lairon at level 32, I'm able to arrive in Mistralton City. I can't really go to Twist Mountain since that area is blocked off until post-game, and we need to take a plane to go to Lentimus Town to progress, but we can't do that unless we go to beat the gym leader first, which just leaves Route 7 and Celestial Tower as the only available areas to go to. Route 7 has a few new Pokemon I can grab, the first of which is a trade, that being a Mulga or Gigalith. If you're unaware, this trade in the first game was you trading a Boldore for an Emolga, so you're essentially getting back the Boldore you traded away in the first game. That is, if you even did the trade at all. Did I even do the trade in the first game? Who f***ing knows? Well, the other three encounters on the route are Seviper, Zangoose, Cubchoo during the wintertime, and Zebstrika in the dark grass. Since I was streaming this in December, I didn't need to change the time, so it was a bit more convenient than it would have been otherwise. Celestial Tower is the last area of the section, with it coming Elgyem, and the most annoying Pokemon to ever grace Generation 5, Litwick. See, this little thing has Memento. I hate Memento. If you watched my Fire and Leaf Green speedrun with Latios, you know I hate Memento. It just makes things way too difficult to catch though, because they end up offing themselves every single time you throw a ball. So to mitigate this, I went completely overkill and used the Master Ball. Screw you, I have no time for your games. Finish the goddamn section already. With that though, it's grinding time, and grind we shall, since on Route 7, there's an 85% chance of Audino showing up between levels 30 and 33. So it's a lot easier compared to the last section, letting me evolve Lairon into Aggron at level 42, Axew into Fracture at level 38, Elgyem into Behem at level 42, Litwick into Lampent at level 41, Fracture into Haxorus at level 48, and Lampent into Chandelure with the Duskstone, which took me so long that it ended up knocking over my green screen in celebration when I finally found it, ending the section with a total of 158 Pokemon and a time of 80 hours and 18 minutes, taking down Skyla and earning the Jet Badge for my troubles.